Hey everyone, so the pre-patch is with us and we now have a release date for Shadowlands. Whoop. But some people are still returning to the game and still unsure what to do with their class, so today I will be going over Unholy DK to give you a quick rundown of everything you need to know to be your best and necromantic self. Okay, let's go over the changes first. We'll start with the best ones. Epidemic is now baseline and also works with Sudden Doom. Unholy Blight has been reworked, now is almost as good as its old self. Some abilities have target caps. You're not going to feel that unless you're in a really organised group, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. We have some new rune forges. Unfortunately, we're not going to use those. The only one you might get a bit of use out of is Unending Thirst. Might be cool for leveling, but not sure about that though. The mastery has been changed to now also increase pet damage as well as your shadow damage. Ugh. We've been waiting a long time for that one. Long time. Soul Reaper is now an execute again. Lichborn is back and Anti-Magic Shell is back. We finally have utility again. It is a good time to be alive. Or dead. Or undead. Let's get into our stat priority. So, single target and AoE are slightly different, but it's not too much to worry about. They're literally the reverse of each other. For single target, our stats are going to be Mastery Front, it increases your shadow damage, your pet damage, and our pets already did a ton of damage before, so this is just going to really give them that nice kick. Our second stat is going to be Haste. It increases our dot tick rate. It also increases or reduces how long it takes for our runes to regenerate and how fast we swing our sticks around. Then followed by Crit, makes us occasionally hit a little bit harder, and then Burst, which also makes us hit a little bit harder, but all the time. Like I said before, the stat priorities are very easy for this. Single target is Haste Mastery, and then for AoE is Mastery Haste. If you're lazy, just get one set with both on it, and you're good. Moving on to your talents. On the first row we had two choices. Chlorine Shadows gives you a lot more personal reach and can be very useful, but the talent we'll be taking is All Will Serve for Archie the Archer. Both talents benefit from mastery, but his damage is just better. You don't have to manage him, he just shoots things, and that's just good enough. Row 2 for single target brings a change I have been dying for a long time. I can finally drop Ebon Fever and take Unholy Blight instead. It's got huge damage, along with the fact that it also increases your pet's damage with each stack it applies, which means I don't have to waste a GCD on Outbreak because it does that for me too. The new Unholy Blight is a death godsend, and honestly I just love it. Row 3 is a utility row. I personally love having a stun from a Fixie Gate on my DK, but sometimes it's nice to have the slow from D&D. Can be very useful in the right situation, so you just pick which you feel is right for what you're doing. Row 4. The clear winner here is Soul Reaper. It currently far outweighs the other options on this tier, especially when you're using it right. Row 5 is another utility row that is between mitigation, mobility and self-healing. Now we have plenty of two of those already, so I'm going to be taking Wraithwalk nearly all the time, apart from situations where I'm going to be taking a ton of magic damage and I'm not going to be moving much. That's the only time I'm probably not going to be taking Wraithwalk, because you know we need that mobility. Row 6. This row on the surface is technically an AoE row, but one stands out above the rest here for single target, and that is Unholy Pact, just for the strength bonus alone. It gives you a great damage boost, and it gives you the AoE chain between you and your pet. So if you can position yourself properly, that thing is going to melt everything in your way. Row 7. Now, I expected to see a lot of different playstyles based on this row because of how impactful some of them are. But because of the mastery change, getting more time on Apocalypse Ghouls and your Army Ghouls, as well as having major skeletons thrown into the mix, Army of the Damned is the winner in terms of throughput on single target, and a lot of cases on AoE too, but we'll get to that in a minute. As we said, moving on to AoE. Okay, so in the pre-patch, people aren't really changing their builds for AoE and Raid, but in Mythic Plus there seems to be two builds going on right now. One is a variant of the classic wound build, which revolves around building up your wounds, dropping down that Death and Decay, and just bashing in Scourge Strikes and getting all that splash damage around them. It's beautiful. The only real change to this is now we have Unholy Assault, which gives you much faster setup time and much more explodey AoE time. The other one is basically your single target build. All will serve that Archer gives cleave as it is, so you're not losing too much there. Unholy Blight gives incredible burst, so if your group is working around you as a Death Knight, you can set up a massive decimating packs. As I said earlier, that 5% strength from Unholy Pact is so good, and I had a feeling it might carry over in some instances to Mythic Plus. The big choice in AoE comes down to whether or not you go Arm of the Damned or Unholy Assault. Personally, I'll be going Unholy Assault, but that's just because I like the playstyle, not so much because I'm clear which is better, because both are seeing play right now. Moving on to rotation. There are two different openers that you can do, depending on whether or not you take Unholy Assault. So if you take Unholy Assault, precast your Army of the Dead, Unholy Blight, Unholy Assault, that transformation, then Apocalypse, Death Coil, and then Festering Strike twice and go into your Scourge Strikes. If you aren't taking Unholy Assault, you need to do 2 Festering Strikes after your Unholy Blight / Outbreak, and then go from there as normal. For your normal single target rotation, you're going to be maintaining your Plague, whether that be by Outbreak or Unholy Blight. You're going to be using Death Coil whenever it procs, or you're nearly runic power capped, sorry. Pop your wounds you've built up from Festering Wounds, whilst Apocalypse is on cooldown. Build up those wounds with Festering Strike if you have none or you're about to set up for Apocalypse. And then if there's actually nothing left, then you just Death Coil for the sake of it. But this isn't going to come around often from my personal experience. You're far more likely to be Death Coiling for high runic power or procs before you even get to this one. For the AoE rotation, similar to before, you're going to maintain that Plague, you're going to Epidemic with procs and high runic power instead of Death Coil, you're going to throw down that Death and Decay, and then Scourge Strike. I personally would suggest that you get up some wounds on mobs before you start AoEing, so that you don't waste runes building them up during Death and Decay instead of Scourge Striking. There isn't much more to it than that, other than experience from dungeons, so you know when best to save your cooldowns and set up the big burst windows. Other than that, just enjoy wreaking carnage on the people of the world with your Skelebobs. There's not much more to it than that. Thank you all for watching. With the release date now back on the table, there'll be plenty of content coming up soon, I'm sure. I have a few things in the works. Hopefully you'll see me live at some point, but we know how that's gone for me so far. But if you enjoyed this guide, throw it a like, give me a sub maybe. Have a great day, perhaps. And I'll see you in the next thing of whatever I make. Bye.
Can you tell me how you're a son?